With communists, that human was no longer selfish. In America today, that human is no longer born male or female. And obesity is not something that affects health. You can be healthy at any size. Really, we voted on it. A formerly serious magazine last year published with a straight face an article called "Separating Sports by Sex Doesn't Make Sense." Yes, it does. Because again, we haven't reinvented Homo sapiens since Crystal Pepsi came out. I've spent 3 decades on TV mocking Republicans who said climate change was just a theory. And now I got to deal with people who say, you know what else is just a theory? Biology.
So let's cut straight to it. Bill Maher is back again, flamethrower in hand, setting woke culture on fire. And love him or hate him, you've got to admit, nobody pokes the bear like Maher. This isn't some newcomer chasing clout. For decades, he's been lighting up conservatives, clowning Republicans, and dragging anyone who denied climate change or pushed Bible Belt sermons. Controversy has always been his comfort zone, but now he's turned that same razor-sharp wit on his own side. The Democrats, the progressives, the self-proclaimed warriors of woke. And let me tell you, they're not taking it well. Because this isn't Maher tossing out throwaway late-night jokes. This is something heavier, something closer to a cultural intervention. A wake-up call for a movement drunk off its own slogans and hashtags, convinced it can bend reality with retweets. Think about the history lesson he's pointing at. Communists once believed they could reinvent human nature itself, erase self-interest, design a new kind of person, and build a collectivist paradise. Spoiler, it failed spectacularly. Turns out people still liked money, still wanted comfort, and still demanded freedom. Shocker, right? Fast forward to today, and Maher argues a delusion is back, just in new packaging. Only this time, it's not the new Soviet man. It's humans aren't male or female. It's obesity has nothing to do with health. It's biology is just a theory. Really? Biology is just a theory? Come on. And Maher's point hits hard. You don't get to reinvent Homo sapiens just because Twitter told you it's empowering. We haven't successfully redesigned the human body since Crystal Pepsi in the 90s. And remember how that went? Everyone hated it. Reality killed it fast. And that's the lesson Maher's hammering home. Reality humbles bad ideas. Now, pause, because I know what some of you are already thinking. Oh, here we go. Bill Maher flipped. He's gone full conservative.
The problem with communism, and with some very recent ideologies here at home, is that they think you can change reality by screaming at it. That you can bend human nature by holding your breath. But that's the difference between reality and your mommy. Lincoln once said that you can repeal all past history, but you still cannot repeal human nature. But he's canceled now, so f*** him.
But that's not it. He hasn't switched sides. He's not suddenly auditioning to be MAGA's new hype man. What he's doing is sharper than that. He's turning the mirror on his own tribe and saying, look, you've lost touch with reality. And that's exactly why it stings. That's why Democrats and progressives get so defensive.
Well, if you're part of today's woke revolution, you need to study the part of revolutions where they spin out of control because the revolutionaries get so drunk on their own purifying elixir, they imagine they can reinvent the very nature of human beings.
Because the criticism isn't coming from Fox News. It's not from the right. It's coming from one of their own. And when the hit comes from inside the house, that's when it hurts the most. And let's be real with ourselves for a second. The moment you start pushing the idea that separating sports by sex doesn't make sense, you've officially checked out reality and crossed straight into fantasy land. That's not progress. That's not compassion. That's denial. Denial of basic, undeniable biology. And the craziest part? When it's supposedly serious, respected magazine prints that argument with a straight face. It doesn't just make them look foolish. It exposes just how deep the cultural rot is spread. Because if the institutions we once trusted to deal in facts are now cheerleading delusion, what does that say about where we're headed? Here's where things get darker. Ma draws a straight line between today's woke revolution and Mao's cultural revolution in 1960s China. And no, that's not some wild right-wing fever dream. He's pointing out the same exact patterns. Mao ordered citizens to throw away the for olds, old customs, old culture, old habits, old ideas. In other words, torch everything familiar. Refuse to comply, you got humiliated, shamed, paraded by red guards, sometimes even killed. Yesterday, I asked ChatGPT if there were any similarities between Mao's revolution and today's woke crusade. Its response? How long do you have? Applause. Because history already showed us what happens when someone tries a page-one rewrite of human nature. Mao erased the old world overnight. Citizens who resisted were ridiculed with dunce caps, publicly shamed, and in some cases, erased entirely. About 1 million dead. All because they weren't radical enough. Now, no one's saying today's woke left is stacking bodies in the streets. But the mindset, the obsession with purification, the crusade to erase history and punish dissent, disturbingly similar. Back then it was red guards with dunce caps. Today it's Twitter mobs with hashtags. Back then, struggle sessions. Today, sensitivity training and mandatory apologies. The tools have changed. The psychology hasn't. Take the case of Jason Kilburn, a law professor in Chicago. On an exam, he referenced racial and gender slurs and discrimination case, but he didn't even write the words, just the first letters. The entire point was to prepare students for real-world cases. Instead of applause, the university branded him a villain, banned him from campus, shoved him into weeks of training, and forced him to write essays about his growth. His crime? Teaching the truth. And it's not just classrooms. The same suffocating culture has invaded music entertainment, even casual conversation. Remember Winston Marshall from Mumford & Sons? The guy tweeted that he liked the book. Not that he joined a hate rally. Not that he endorsed an extremist group. He just said, "Hey, I like this book." The mob came for him, and suddenly he's apologizing, leaving his band and acting like he committed some mortal sin. That's not justice. That's insanity. Yes, we have our own red guard, only now they rampage online. A tweet, a post, a joke. Anything outside the script and you're finished. Forced apologies follow. The same robotic language. I've come to better understand the pain I've caused. Pain from a book? Unless he hit the drummer over the head with it, that's absurd. Imagine John Lennon in the 60s writing Revolution, while activists marched with Mao's face on posters. He literally warned against this madness. Carry Chairman Mao, and you lose credibility instantly. And yet, here we are. Different generation, same arrogance. The same belief that your revolution is so enlightened, so pure, that you're basically creating a brand new kind of human being. You're welcome. But history already showed how that story ends. Just ask Lenin. He saw it coming decades ago. And let's not forget the healthy at any size craze. Remember that? Woke activists claimed obesity doesn't matter, that doctors were just fat shaming, that you could be perfectly healthy at 350 pounds. Social media treated it like gospel, but reality doesn't care about hashtags. Reality says obesity kills nearly 300,000 Americans every year. Heart disease, strokes, diabetes, those aren't trolls, they're consequences. And instead of telling people the truth, the movement fed them comforting lies that cost lives. With communists, the new human was no longer selfish. In woke America, the new human isn't male or female. And obesity? Not a problem, it's a lifestyle. That's not progress. That's delusion. My drive's at home. Woke culture isn't about tolerance or inclusivity. It's about obedience. Real diversity isn't pronouns. Real diversity is thought. Arguing, disagreeing, and still living side by side. That's what makes societies thrive. But step out of line, and you'll see how inclusive it really is. Because the truth is, they don't want debate. They want silence. They don't want different views. They want a script memorized and obeyed, or else. And that authoritarian streak is why Ma's message resonates across the spectrum. Left, right, center, you can feel that chill. One wrong joke, one wrong tweet, one slip of the tongue, and your whole life can vanish. It's exhausting. It's suffocating. It's killing the very idea of free thought. Think about this. A serious magazine recently published an article with a straight face saying, separating sports by sex doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. We haven't reinvented Homo sapiens since Crystal Pepsi. I've mocked Republicans for decades for denying climate change as just a theory. Now I've got people saying biology is just a theory. It's embarrassing. It's backward. It's like rearranging deck chairs on Titanic while the ship sinks. Because while America wastes time fighting over pronouns, the rest of the world is sprinting ahead. AI, biotech, automation, privacy, real issues that shape the future. But here, we're still debating whether men and women exist. That's not leadership. That's national self-sabotage. At the end of the day, Ma's war with woke culture isn't about comedy. It's about survival. It's about yanking people back to reality before society gets swallowed whole by its own delusions. Because if we keep pretending biology is optional, if we keep canceling people for reading books, if we keep silencing professors for teaching truth, then we're not progressing, we're regressing. And maybe that's the greatest irony of all. The woke left sells itself as the future, the cutting edge, the enlightened vanguard. But peel away the hashtags, the scolding, the fake empowerment, and what's left isn't progress. It's fragility. It's censorship. It's denial of reality. So maybe Ma's not just telling jokes anymore. Maybe he's doing something bigger. Maybe he's forcing us to admit the emperor has no clothes and asking the question that really matters. Do we want a culture built on reality or a culture built on fantasy? Because if we don't answer that question ourselves, the mob will gladly answer it for us.